I live at the corner of harm reduction and 12-step recovery, because I do 12-step and I also do harm reduction. And I think it's a really difficult situation. I find it very difficult because there's so much antagonism from people in 12 steps about harm reduction and vice versa. These are things that save millions of lives. So people who are like that, I just keep them at arm's length. You know, different. We're all like snowflakes. We're all different. You know, like harm reduction is going to work for some and not for some. And being abstinent and doing 12 steps is going to work for some and not work for some. And if you believe in God, then my God loves us all. And so it's a really important thing that we give love and support to anybody, whether they're using or not. And the other thing I wanted to say is I think addiction is a serious and a specifically horrible mental health disease. You know, there's no honor in it. There's no dishonor in being bipolar. There's no dishonor in having whatever. But to me, in my belief system, the fact that I could do something about it spiritually, it's just awful. I don't want to die loaded. You know, when I did overdose, I was actually dead, and people always ask me, did you see a light? I don't know, I was loaded. I don't remember anything, you know? And so whenever I do pass from this world, I want to be aware for it, for what that might be. But I'm really grateful to be able to use the life that I led to be there for others, because folks trust me, you know? And I'm also grateful to be part of this panel and be here. And with Alex's opening remarks were very moving to me, because he used the words barriers. There are too many damn barriers. Like, I did Hep C work and overdose prevention work for 20 years, and we need to reduce the barriers, because if we get people, save them from an overdose, getting them cured of Hep C, gives them a little light and a little breathing room and a step, and that's an important thing to get people to move in the right direction. We need to lower the barriers and just bloody take care of people. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. That was great. You all have such an amazing, unique story, and I'm again proud that you guys are here with us today. So the next question is, and any of you can answer: what is the singular most important resource, person, place, or thing that helped you through your challenges?
I think when I was in jail, I had a counselor named Jackie Gordon, and she was giving me the real deal, like laying it on the line, telling me I had like behavioral issues and that I'm mentally not prepared for the world as I should be. And I thought like, well, I'm here, I'm in jail, I'm trying to like do something different, you know, like I did some time there. And then when I got out and I walked all the way from 7th Street all the way to Walden House to do like 18-month program, I admitted that like I did stop by at the house and hopefully I could just, you know, come up on something and just do what I wanted to do, because that was my stinking thinking. But the guy opened the door and he shut it in my face. And that was the best blessing I could ever happen, because then I like continued to walk to Walden House. And I remember the day because it was 90 degrees and I had this hot leather jacket on. I barely could fit in my pants. My shoes were too big, you know, because the swelling went down and I got thick, you know, super thick. And I went to Walden House and they knew me in the jail as Patricia Williams. And when I went to Walden House and he asked me my name, and I was just like, my name's not Patricia, it's Katrina. And he was just like, you're gonna be able to do this. And I thought, like, his name was David. And he talked about like how to be honest and what that meant and how he defined it to me. It was way different than what I thought honesty was. And it first starts off with like just trying to get as closest to the truth as possibly as you can, you know, and believe in it. And in that time of being in Walden House, you know, I had a lot of arguments. I sat on a chair for many hours. I was on contract all the time. And I just kept writing and writing and writing. Like, why can't I just get this? Like, you know, where is that magic pill, you know, that I could like get over this and move the hell on? But I found through my writing, I was able to like read it again, and I got more clear and clearer about where I wanted to be. So much that they asked me to be a case manager there. And I was like, I can't be a case manager. I'm in my early recovery. I'm just learning how to tell the truth and how to be honest. Like, how can I give this gift that was given to me? And they were very supportive of the team. You know, they kind of like welcomed me and nurtured me and they supported me to like help others. You know, and I became a speaker. It was a long journey, and I'm very grateful to share that part of it with you. So I'm going to pass it on.
So the thing that saved me was actually San Francisco. Not the programs. Every time I went to the hospital, I was kicked out within whatever, at the end of the day, right? That wasn't crazy enough, or I was too crazy. They had to roll everybody in and out. So what I found is the ocean, which is actually just right over there. It's not Hawaii. And I walked there one day. I walked all the way to the Sunset District, took the trail, you know, the Land's End Trail, and it landed at this small beach where Robin Williams' house was, right there. And then you go around this corner, and there were all these like Russian men and German men, like, who were jumping in the water just with a Speedo, superhero. And I was watching them, and they were so strong, and they were old, okay? And they are still going. And I was afraid of the ocean. I wasn't a really good swimmer. I mean, I'm from Cleveland. I mean, I wasn't like a beach bum. And I was super hallucinating. And I went up to this man and he said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "I don't know. You know, the trees were too green, I could hear the waves and they weren't even that big." So he said, "Do you want to go in the water?" And I was like, "No, you know, I don't want to go in the water." But I took off, I had a bra, you know, underwear on, and I jumped in, and it was cold. It was January. And there was sun out, which was really helpful, and there's this deck. It's called China Beach. It has definitely like fallen down a bit with its facilities, but it had showers and it had a locker. And I jumped in and I was cured. For that moment. It did not last that many hours, but it happened. So I went every single day. I never stopped, and the same men were there until they took me in and started kind of guiding me through. And there's a lot of long distance swimmers there, but I was not able to keep my breath. You know, one, because, you know, I was smoking enough drugs to not really have total breath control. But they slowly taught me, and you know, I had to get rid of the fear of sharks. You know, I saw dolphins for my first time, I saw whales. And it cures. You know, it was the salt and the cold, and it's not for everyone. Not everyone can jump in a cold Pacific Ocean, but water heals. And one of the things that really healed me there was that I could keep a toothbrush somewhere, and I started to brush my teeth at the same time every day. Like just that. And I would eat like a grapefruit. Now, not after I brush my teeth, but at the same time, I started making things kind of structured, and I started really packing my backpack really good. And I had this constant of the ocean, but the lockers really helped. And they only had cold water in the shower, but that cured. Like just taking a freezing cold shower. And I did it every day because then I could like go to work for like a 6-hour shift. And then I was lucky enough that I've always worked for small business. I've always worked for a little tiny coffee shop or a little tiny record store. And my bosses were really good to me. And that does not happen to everyone. Mostly if we have to work for a corporation or just where people are constantly having turnover. So I had a lot of bosses who told me, you know, I was unemployable unless I went in the water. And then they couldn't really schedule me 2 days in a row. They knew that it wasn't possible for me to go 2 days in a row, so I would get a day off. But I think if I had to give anyone, like, what would help is some sort of constant, even if it's coming here every day at a certain time. Because I can't tell everyone to jump in the ocean, but I really think you should at least go there. And like take the salt and put it on your face, and as cold as, yeah, okay. Any sort of water does heal, and they've been talking about that for how many years in Russia, has been doing it forever. But it was the constant of me saying, I'm gonna do something every day. And that's what I'm the most grateful for.
For me, it was just making a spiritual connection. You know, if you believe in God, you know, that people wouldn't get... By the way, I didn't mention that I've been diagnosed with 2 mental health illnesses, and I have 10 and a half years sober again. Since that relapse, I mentioned a little detail. But, you know, I talked about spirituality, and it's connecting to something bigger than us and just realizing my place in the universe. It enabled me to stop thinking about myself all the time, you know, and that's what got it for me.
Thanks, guys. So, what role does family, as you identify it, so not your traditional sense of the word family, how does family play into your recovery?
Yeah, so, you know, I was always very close with my family my whole life, and when I started into my addiction, I basically gave up on my whole family, and like for instance, you know, this was probably when I was like 22 years old, and before that I would talk to my sisters and my mom and my dad at least twice a week, you know, each of them. And when I started my addiction, I didn't talk to any of them, and so I didn't call anybody. My sister, my other sister, my dad, my mom, anybody. And my mom put a missing people's report on me. She knew about my cocaine addiction, so she thought I was dead. One time she actually went to the Tenderloin because she knew that there was a lot of drugs out there. And she actually went to the Tenderloin with a picture of me and went up to some guys out there. If you can imagine my mom, she's like just this little lady, and she went with my stepdad, and she went to these guys in the Tenderloin right there on Leavenworth, and she showed them a picture of me. And she was like, have you seen this girl? This is my daughter, her name's Kim, have you seen her? And they were like, oh yeah, I know Kim, but I don't know where she is right now. So that's how my mom figured out that I was still alive when I was in my addiction. And to this day, my mom's writing a book about me, and she's hoping to get it published. So we talk almost every day, you know, and she was huge in helping me, you know, because she was always there for me. And you kind of forget when you're in addiction, you know, what you put your family through, and I put my family through everything, just so much, you know. But like I said, like right now she's writing a book about me, and my family is, you know, really proud of me about my sobriety and my recovery and everything. You know, so yeah, that's it.
Mental illness and addiction runs in my family, and my sisters, all of us kids suffer from it. But the way that family plays into it for me is that my folks were married 62 years, and they were in love. You know, they didn't stay together because they were in love. And when my daddy died a year and a half ago, I got to be there. If I was still using, I wouldn't have been able to do anything, and I was able to do that, and I've been able to talk to my mom every day and help my mom. And so it's a tremendous gift of dealing with, you know, like our drug issues, and also getting treatment and help with mental health issues, that we can actually be there for our family, because it feels bad to not be there for them. Thanks.
As stating, I wasn't safe with my father, so my mom would move me around. I lived in a lot of other people's houses. I lived mostly in my godmother's attic. But my mom, it's kind of a weird story. She's an ex-nun. She was a nun from 18 to 29 years old, so she missed the 60s. And she's not like a big Catholic right now. And then now she's a hospice care nurse, so she sees people at the end stages. And my mom is super funny. So my mom was always there never doing an intervention. But she was always the one who would show up and detox me. And then call some friends. And she started making kind of connections with my close friends. And she had this little secret social network. So she knew how to reach out. I got pregnant when I was like 29, so I was sober. That did not last long because they cried and it was too loud. So I definitely did not, they should have been taken away from me. I couldn't take care of them. I wouldn't feed them, you know, because food was poison and I was going to kill them if I fed them. I definitely was straight out of one of those things where mama's going to go to jail because of what she did to her babies. So they were taken away, and with their father, who, it was a one-night stand with twins, which is, but I'm grateful now. I was not very excited with the news. But years later, I got them back, and then I lost them, you guys, and I only had them Monday and Tuesday. And they didn't really know me. And I didn't get them back till they were 6.5 years old, 50-50%, you know, 50 that side and 50 this side. And now I'm a mom. One of the reasons why I didn't have them back was I didn't relapse into drugs. I started having, like, as you get older, schizophrenia does not get easier. It grows with you. I wish I could say that it didn't. And I went and just left the kids, literally, left them. My employees started watching the kids, got them to their father, and I was on the streets and I would come back to my coffee shop, rob my own coffee shop, and charge my phone. That's all I remember. So there was this intervention which wasn't gonna work because I punched a bunch of people out, right? You have a lot of strength when you don't wanna be saved. So my mother did this thing where she had a psychologist that she talked to, and one thing I will say, even when you get a psychiatrist and you're in a system, you don't really get any help with a psychologist. I think that's a big barrier. Like, you almost have to have money. Everybody's out of some network. So my mom had a psychologist who was a dear friend of hers, and she had him call me. And I saw the area code, and it was the area code of where my mother lived. And I answered the phone, and it was this calm voice, and he told me he was God. And I believed him. And I did everything he told me to do, super calmly, and got myself to Stanford. Not close by, the best, where the head of the schizophrenia department, he did his research, and he was going to be the doctor on call. And then he told me, as God, and I was super quiet listening. You know, I had my backpack packed. God was on the phone. And my mom was like, always wanted to like tell me it wasn't God. But he told me, and I didn't know until this day, that you never go into the room. You get asked to get in at an emergency room. You never put a gown on, and you never go in a room because they legally can't get you out. Does that make sense? Unless they bring you in and do the paperwork, then they can tell you, okay, it's time to go home. But if you don't go in one of those rooms, you can stay. And I didn't know that was the case. And this wasn't that long ago. It's not like some vintage thing that went on. So I stayed put until the psychiatrist that God told me was going to come down and help me. And he did. And he recognized me from my coffee shop. Because a lot of people, a lot of people come to my coffee shop. And I had him talk to God on the phone. I was like, oh, you totally should talk to God. And he was like, okay, I'll talk to God. And God walked him through me. Because this was like a 2.5 month me on the street, hitting my employees, stealing money, until God called me. And walked me through it it wasn't in one day, it was 2 weeks, where he would check in and tell me what to do. And I found the help. And I was lucky enough to find a doctor that didn't send me home with a box of pills and tell me to check in at another time. They did take me in and stabilize me not cure me, but at least give me some sort of safety in that person. And I was at Stanford where they actually couldn't have me leave. So I'm pretty grateful for my mom. Just so you know, that psychologist, I have never met him. And he still calls me on the phone. And I went to Florida and my mom said, do you want to meet him? And I said, no. I don't want to put a face to it. Yeah, I mean, what if he's like ugly? What if God just butt ugly? I'm grateful for my mama, who never, ever, ever judged me. I'm at like really low reading level, and she always told me, all that matters is that you're a good friend. Don't screw your friends over, ever. And so I named my kids, I gave them a brand new name, and their last name is Goodhart. That nurse did not like that, but that's their last name.
Great. What would you tell someone who is currently in the depths of their challenges, whether it's, you know, their mental health issues or addiction or both, or just, you know, homelessness, whatever, you know, their struggles are right now?
Back. You need assisted living. And we can't have it here. We take care of I love dogs, we take care of dog hotels and not our elderly or our mentally ill. As much as San Francisco, I think, works very hard to have a program like this, which you guys should be so grateful, because I just look crack to move on. So you can't just go get an ATM card, go to the bank, get a bank account when you can't handle certain lighting or low ceilings. Like, I had to walk into here and see if I could even speak here because I don't want to relapse in a room that I can't take the lighting. But someone has to be there for you to handle, like, you know, the beeping of the groceries, you know, and then they started having those self-checkouts and like one person, and you have to wait in line with people that you can hear too much. So you really need like someone, either a program, a case manager, a friend, a mother, to teach you how to not steal the food anymore. I mean, I had a job, you know, I owned my own company. I still stole all my food because the beeping bothered me. Never got caught. I mean, I did get caught. But I didn't know, you have to learn how to clean yourself. You have to learn how not to panic that it's all going to be gone one day. Everything's going to be gone. But I think the hardest thing is when you have a mental illness or you get out of a system is you're just supposed to walk into everyday life. Like, I'm supposed to get off the streets and be perfectly fine with like getting a dresser. I didn't have a bed until I was 36 years old. I didn't want one. I rolled out a mat because I didn't want anyone to take my bed. And I still have a mattress on the floor, just in case. So I don't feel as though I lost the frame as well. Do you know, like, it's okay if it's a mattress, I can go get another mattress. But I think the most important thing is that you need, like, to be okay with an assisted living program, like how to get back there. And it took a really long time, and I'm also grateful to have older kids that are able to do a lot of it for me when I have to admit that I can maybe relapse into psychosis if I go to a Target. Like, I can't do that. So, hey, a friend, my kids need to get a birthday present for a friend. Will you take my kids? You know, they know how to use the cash and get the change. They kind of had to grow up too fast and do a lot of things for mama. So I think that's really important to, one, accept it and hopefully find those programs who are going to be like, we're going to the grocery store today.
I haven't got a standard thing I would tell folks. I think we all do. I think there's too much talking and too much advice and telling people what they need to do. I think it's bullshit. I think that what I would do is try to listen to the person, you know, and see what that, and have a conversation about what their needs might be in that moment. Because it's not about, I'm not the expert in anybody's life, you know, they're the expert in their life, but I think that as a general rule, it's really good to ask people how they're doing, you know, and see and ask them what's going on, and then figure it out together as opposed to giving straight up advice. Thanks.
I believe like when you're up and doing well, just pause and look around and see who's around you and who supported you, who got you there, what place you're at. Did you go to the beach? Did you go to the park? You know, are you in a car driving? And when you're down, take a pause. You know, just pause. You know, take a deep breath and look around and see who's there. You know, who's there to support you, what phone number you have in your phone, someone you can call, and know that, like, hey, you know, there's a happy medium between the up and down, you know, and it's a great place to live, and sometimes it's difficult, and sometimes it's really hard, and sometimes it's really great, you know, you're like, I did all this to get to this point right now, you know, like, when you're really up and things are going well, you're like, everything that I've done, that means that right here. You breathe it in, you take a pause, you look around, and you just, you know, that moment of gratitude at any space you are in your life, you know, you're living, you're breathing, you know, you're doing whatever simple thing